Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're doing well. And yes, welcome to 2026. Yeah, in fact, today's episode is simple. This is going to be your 2026 pep talk, the one I want you to hear before you're going to open your inbox, before you're going to look at last year's numbers, and before you start telling yourself stories about what this year is supposed to be. Because let's be really honest for a moment. A lot of us walk into January already carrying the baggage of the last year. And that baggage, well, it's going to shape how we show up, whether we like it or not. And that's a hard reality, right? We're going to talk about it and how we fix it. But before we get started, it's time for two truths and a lie. Truth number one, your business results, well, is it a truth or is it a lie? Let's find out. Option one, your business results last year say more about your systems than your talent. Number two, most designers underestimate how much emotional energy their business is actually costing them. I know I can certainly relate to that. Number three, if you didn't crush it last year, you're already behind this year. Yeah, let all those land for a second because we're going to be talking about them and which two are the truth and which one is the lie at the end of this episode. All right, I want you to clear all the crap out of the last year from your head because I want to be really clear about something. 2026 does not need to be a reaction to 2025. I want to give you permission and freedom, and I need to give it to myself as much as you. You do not need to make up for last year. You do not need to prove anything, and you do not need to hustle your way out of feeling disappointed if that's how you feel about your last year. Here's what you do need to do. You've got to clear out all the crap. You've got to clear out all the crap that you're believing, that you're telling yourself, whether it's the stories, the self-judgment, maybe it's the comparison, and you think, I'm just not enough. The narrative that you're telling yourself, somehow that is going to impact you not only last year, but it's going to impact you this year. And it's going to define your capacity for what you can handle this year, for better or for worse. The reality is it's there. Now, I talked about it in my episode with Michelle Len. You definitely want to look in your rearview mirror. It becomes a gauge, right? But you cannot drive out of your rearview mirror. This year gets to be designed on purpose. I want you to think about designing the business you want this year, as well as you would design your dream project. Let's talk about getting really real about this because context matters. This is why I'm not coaching from the sidelines. I'm not speaking from theory or from a business that I ran 10 years ago. I am actively running a design firm today with real clients, real payroll, real deadlines, real stakes. And that is why I love spending time coaching with each of you. So when I tell you that most of the struggle really isn't about talent, it's going to be about systems and boundaries and energy, which I love coaching to. I'm saying that all from my experience of almost 20 years. And here's something I see over and over again. Designers don't fail because they're not good enough. If you are failing, if you can't make your payroll, if you are not paying yourself first and foremost, it's not because you're a bad designer. It's because you're probably carrying too much mentally, emotionally, and operationally without even realizing it. In fact, I was just talking to a designer before the holiday break who said, I need to bring another person on my team. I said, I love that you have this problem. You have so much demand in your business. This is a great challenge to have. What do your numbers support? And she couldn't tell me, and she was worried that she couldn't afford to bring another person on her team, which tells me we have a pricing problem as well as potentially an organizational problem, right? So how do you want your 2026 to feel? Instead of jumping straight into goals, which is what everybody wants you to do this time of year, whether it's your coach at the gym, whether it's your kids coming home from school, whether teachers saying, we're going to start doing this. I just want to press pause for a minute and take a beat. I want you to think about this question. How do you want your business to feel this year? Do you want it to be calmer? Do you want it to be more profitable? Maybe you want it to just feel more spacious, more respected. Maybe it needs to feel more sustainable because you were dying on the sidelines and barely made it to the holiday break. In fact, you maybe even worked through the holiday break, even though you didn't plan to. Here's the hard-hitting reality. If you don't define the experience you want out of your business this coming year, you're going to chase numbers that actually don't serve you. That's just the reality of it. I want to hear from you. When I ask you that question, how do you want your business to feel this year? DM me your answer. Seriously, send it to me. I read every single one on Insta and respond to them personally. Tell me where you are and tell me where you want to be. And here's the reality too. We have to have goals without shame. This can be really hard as women, especially. I feel like it's very easy for us to navigate towards shame when things are not the way that we want them to be. The reality is goals are not a judgment of last year. They are a direction for this one. I want you to take the shame out of it. If your goals feel heavy or punishing or loaded with self-criticism, time out. Those are not goals. They're expectations pretending to be motivation that usually backfire. And I will tell you, I am as guilty of this as anyone. It is very easy to create very punishing hopes or heavy lifts on projects. That's not what this is about. This is about setting beautiful, motivating areas for you as you navigate into this Q1 of 2026. So how do you know if it's good? Good goals should create focus. They shouldn't beat you down. Great goals create alignment between what you want your business to be and where you are now, right? We're going to start aligning those two. And sustainable goals leave room for being a human. This is so important. I will tell you, I just got back from a 2-week vacation. It was amazing. I spent time with my family on the Hawaiian Islands. We played in the sand. We swam with turtles. And it was the best feeling ever to completely check out and remember again who I am first and foremost, which is a mom to 2 really amazing girls. That's why I call them my most important clients, and a wife, and just to be in that human space again. So that as I get ready to lead our firm into 2026 and coach you in your firms in 2026, I have a pot to pull from because I filled it back up. This is so important that you give yourself the space to do this as you set about creating goals. And let's talk about creating goals. I know a lot of people talk about SMART goals. SMART goals are really, really important. You need to have SMART goals. And if that sounds cliche to you and you're all familiar with SMART goals, amazing. If you're not, let's map it out for a minute. When you think about a goal for your coming year, let's start with the S. Is it specific? We can have lots of goals. And I'll just start with the one that most I think of us can relate to. I want to lose weight. Well, that's a really nice goal, but it's not very specific, is it? We're not saying I want to lose 5 pounds by. Also, is your goal measurable? That's the M in SMART. How are you measuring it? Because otherwise you're just going to get to the end of 2026 and it's going to feel a lot like the end of 2025 and that you had the best of hopes, but you didn't give yourself any framework to navigate through the year to help you actually reach a destination, which is where I want you to be able to get. Also, is it achievable? That's your A. We can set goals, all sorts of lofty goals. Yeah, I want to move to Italy in the next year. Is that achievable? Probably not. At least not given this life stage, right? And I'm okay with that. I'm very okay with that. So make sure, though, that your goal is achievable. Is it relevant? I love this goal of relevancy. I think a lot of times we focus as CEOs of our business on everything around us. The reality is you can't focus on everything around you. You are going to choose to leave things on the sidelines, and that's because they are not relevant to you anymore. If you were trying to do it all, I love you deeply, it's not going to last long. That's your hard truth. It's just not. Because we have to choose in life what is relevant. As I always say in business, if you're trying to be everything to everyone, you are nothing to no one. You have to pick your target market. You have to figure out what's relevant to them and make it relevant to you. The same is true of your goals in 2026. They've got to be relevant. And they have to be time bound. I tell you, breaking out goals by quarter is a really good idea because a year can feel like eating an elephant. But as the Chinese proverb says, any man can eat an elephant one bite at a time. So I want you to start with, what does Q1 look like? What does Q2 look like? What does Q3 look like? What does Q4 look like? And start building your framework. In fact, it may be easier actually to start at where do you want 2026 to end? And then break down what you need to do in each of the 4 quarters to help get you there. Because in order to get you where you want to be, You need to create these goals that are specific and measurable and achievable and relevant and time bound, because we know those are the goals that work, not the I want to grow a bigger business, or I want to lose weight, or I want to fill in the blank of whatever your goal is. Once you turn it into a SMART goal, things begin to shift for you. And that is what I want for you as you head into 2026. I want that shift as you start thinking back on, is it profitability? Is it that you want to be better respected? Is it that you want a more sustainable business that allows you to be human? All of these are so incredibly important and allow you to build the business that you set out to build back when you started your business, right? I imagine if we each sit with ourselves for one moment, we can think about what was the reason that led us to start our own business. I know for me, starting my firm, it was about finding someone who could do color and do it well. It wasn't just a sidebar or an appendage of their business. It was actually their focal point. And I couldn't find that. And so I finally decided to do it myself, right? And then that grew and grew and grew, and we are where we are today. The same is true in coaching. I had taught 18 years of undergraduate and graduate university classes, and then came COVID, and then came our biggest client coming to us and asking us to do more, which of course I agreed to. And I needed to spend time focused on the firm, and I had to step away from teaching. But then I remember talking with our operations manager and saying, gosh, I miss teaching. I miss spending time in the academic and education space, building the next generation of business owners. And she said the greatest thing. She said, Katie, why don't you coach other interior designers? You know the business of interior design. You know business in general. You're actually designing the courses for undergraduate and graduate students and teaching them. So why don't you start providing that to our industry? It was the kindest moment that she gave me, because it gave me the freedom to take the things that I loved, the teaching, the education, and business, and marry it all together and give back to this industry that has given so much to me. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. This is why I love spending time with you. And I so appreciate your vulnerability when you come to me with your business and you say, this isn't working, or I'm struggling with this, or I don't know what to do. That sacred space that you're trusting me to speak truth and problem solve and work through those issues with you, especially when we're working together on a contiguous basis and we start really building out what we're talking about today, those 2026 or those big audacious goals, right? That's what we want. Because that's how you grow the business that, like I said, you started out dreaming of building. All right, let's go back to our 2 truths and a lie. I want to get to them. Option 1, your business results last year say more about your systems and your talent. Option 2, most designers underestimate how much emotional energy their business is actually costing them. And number 3, if you didn't crush it last year, you're already behind for this year. I hope you know that by listening to this, option 3 is the lie. Just because you had a hard year last year, maybe you didn't crush it financially the way you wanted to. Maybe you didn't have the projects turn out quite the way that you wanted to. Whatever it was that didn't live up to your expectation last year doesn't have to be your trajectory for this year. Now, I'm not going to lie, it requires being really open and honest with yourself about what didn't work last year, like we talked about on the episode with Michelle. But it also allows you to position yourself to really move forward in a meaningful way, because now that you've been honest with yourself, you can say, this is what I want to do this coming year. This is what I want to change. And then when we integrate that SMART goal into it, we get to say, here's how we're going to change it. It becomes so much more meaningful, impactful, and your likelihood of success goes way up. This is why I love SMART goals. So just because you didn't crush it last year, hear my heart, you are not behind. That's just not true if you think that you are. In fact, it's actually a dangerous thought. It's going to push you to make rush decisions, overcommit, underprice, and ignore the business and what it is asking for from you right now. Take a deep breath. You are not behind. You are informed. And that's a powerful, powerful place to begin. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, gosh, I want this year to be different, but I just don't know where to start. I hear you, Katie, but I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with clarity. This is why I offer a free 15-minute problem solving session. It's exactly what it is. There's no pitch. I'm not trying to sell you on something. It's no pressure. We look at what's working, what could work, and what your next right step actually is for your business. In fact, I want you to go over to fixmydesignbiz with the Z.com. Again, that's fixmydesignbiz.com and book that call. Let's just sit and chat about it for a minute. Because 2026 doesn't need to be louder. I feel like the world is screaming right now, geopolitically, as far as what you should believe in politics in general, what you should be doing with your kids, whether you're a good parent, whether you've been to everything is so loud. And your 2026 doesn't need to be busier. And it definitely does not need to be perfect. If that's what you're looking for, find a new podcast because this is not the place where perfection lives. This is about getting real, getting honest, and moving forward in a meaningful and significant way. What does your 2026 need to be? It needs to be intentional. And let me just give you a big permission slip. You're allowed to begin again. You're allowed to design this year differently. You're allowed to design your business this year differently. This is about you figuring out what works for you. Because remember, your business should be working for you, not you working for it. Until next time, take care